I am making a fun deck profile for a Nephthys God deck profile. I was trying to think of other decks I can mix with the Egyptian God cards, trying to be or just for fun. And I thought of Nephthys, and I thought since Nephthys is an Egyptian goddess, I figured why not try that. This is purely a fun deck, though. If anyone has any ideas what I can do to make it a somewhat meta competent ish deck with just the Nephthys cards, feel free to comment down below. But based on how the Nephthys cards work, I just feel like they're too slow to actually be meta relevant. So I figured why not use them, try to make a fun deck. So starting off with the monsters, I play 3 copies of Disciple of Nephthys. Disciple of Nephthys. Wait, let's see if I can do something about that glare. No, I'll just deal with the glare. Anyway, sorry about that. I didn't realize there was going to be such a glare on the cards with the camera. Oh well. But Disciple of Nephthys has the effect that during your main phase, you destroy a card in your hand, and if you do, add a Nephthys monster from deck to hand, except for another Disciple. During your next standby phase, after this card was destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can add a Nephthys spell trap from your deck to your hand. So you can only use each of the effects once per turn. It has to be once per turn, destroy a card, add a Nephthys monster, and then during your standby phase, after it was destroyed by a card effect, you can add a spell trap. Next, I play 1 copy of Chronicle of Nephthys, or Chronicler. Chronicler has the effect that you can target a Nephthys card in your graveyard, except for a Chronicler of Nephthys. Destroy a card in your hand. If you do, add the target to your hand. So you can target like the Sacred Phoenix, Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys in your graveyard, destroy a Disciple in your hand, return Nephthys to hand, and then Disciple will let you add a spell trap during your next standby phase. And then Chronicler also has the effect that during the next standby phase, after destroyed by a card effect and sent to graveyard, you can add a Nephthys card except for Chronicler from your deck to your hand. All of the Nephthys monsters have, or with the exception to maybe the rituals, have the effect that, or they all have standby phase effects if they were destroyed and sent to the graveyard by card effect. Next, I play 2 copies of Matriarch of Nephthys. Matriarch has the effect that you can target level 4 lower Nephthys monster in your grave, destroy a card in your hand if you do, special summon that targeted monster in defense, but its effects are negated. And then during the next standby phase, after it was destroyed and sent to graveyard, you can special summon this card, and you can only use each effect of Matriarch of Nephthys once per turn. Then I play 2 copies of Defender of Nephthys. Defender has the effect of you can destroy a card in your hand, and if you do, you can special summon a level 4 lower Nephthys monster from your hand, except for Defender of Nephthys. One thing I thought about doing with this card is, because this card does exist, is use it to make like a rank 2 spam deck, or just get the extra deck, a link spam deck. Anyway, Defender also has the effect that during the next standby phase, you can destroy 1 Nephthys monster in your deck, except for Defender of Nephthys. And again, you can only use each effect once per turn. Like I said, it's the fact that they all have their better effects are their effects of during the next standby phase is the reason why I think Nephthys is just too slow to be relevant. Though I would love for it to be. Then I play 2 copies of Devotee of Nephthys. Devotee has the effect of you can ritual summon it with Rebirth of Nephthys, and you can use each of the following effects of it once per turn. Or if this card is ritual summoned, you can activate its effect, especially summon a Nephthys monster from your deck. And however, during the end phase, it's destroyed. And then if this card's in your graveyard, you can destroy a Nephthys card in your grave, and if you do, special summon this card. Wait, destroy a Nephthys card in your hand. Okay. For a second, I thought I said something else. But Devotee figures just good because, however, just know that if you use its grave effect, it has to have been ritual summoned first. Which is that's its only downside. Then I play 1 copy of Conductor of Nephthys. Conductor of Nephthys has the same ritual summoning effect as Devotee. And then it has the effect of if it's ritual summoned, you can special summon a Nephthys ritual monster from your hand or deck, except for a conductor, and it's treated as a ritual summon. And if this card is tributed or destroyed by a Nephthys card effect, you can activate its effect. So during the next standby phase, you can destroy up to 3 Nephthys cards, except ritual monsters, 1 each from hand, deck, and field. You can only use each effect of Conductor of Nephthys once per turn. Next, because it is a Nephthys deck, I figured I'd play 3 copies of Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys. Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys has the effect that if this card is destroyed by card effect, you can special summon it during your next standby phase, and if it's special summoned from the graveyard by its own effect, it destroys all spell and trap cards on the field. And then I play the actual boss monster of the Nephthys deck, or it's the main one, but there is one in the extra deck. That's I'd consider to be the true boss monster, but anyway, it has the same ritual summoning effect as the other two with Rebirth of Nephthys, and then it has the effect of during your main phase, you can destroy a Nephthys card in your hand and or face-up field, and then destroy an equal number of monsters your opponent controls. So if you want to destroy 3 of your opponent's monsters, you can destroy 3 Nephthys monsters. And then during your next standby phase, after this card is destroyed by a card effect, you can special summon this card from the graveyard. I just really like Sacred Phoenix, and like I said, it's honestly the main boss monster of the deck, being able to destroy any number of Nephthys monsters, to then destroy an equal number of monsters so you can start swinging at your opponent directly. Now for the Egyptian God part, I play 3 copies of the Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere Mode. Sphere Mode has the effect of, let's see, you cannot be special summoned. It requires 3 tributes from either side of the field. All 3 do have to be on the same field, so you can't distribute 1 of yours and 2 of your opponents. But if you use any of your opponent's monsters for its summoning, or it's summoned to the field of the monsters that were tributed for it, so if you tribute 3 of your opponents, you give it to their field. And then during the end phase, this card returns to its controller's side of the field. And then the best part of it is that it has the effect you can tribute it, special summon the Winged Dragon of Ra from your deck, ignoring its summoning conditions, and its attack and defense become 4,000. One thing I remember playing with this deck that I really liked was a Nephthys Ra deck, which at one point I was able to summon 3 copies of the Winged Dragon of Ra using this effect of the Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere Mode. Which, if I remember correctly, it was having 2 Sphere Modes engraved. It was controlling 1 Sphere Mode and then having Phantom of Chaos and Monster Reborn. Where you use Sphere Mode's effect, summon Ra. Phantom of Chaos banishes 1 of 2 Sphere Modes, summoning a second Ra. And you get Monster Reborn back to Phantom of Chaos. And then you activate its effect again, copying Sphere Mode, summoning a third. Which I thought was funny. Anyway, then I play 2 copies of Slifer the Sky Dragon. Slifer the Sky Dragon has the effect that it gains it cannot be normal, or for its normal summon cannot be negated. It cannot be normal set. It requires 3 tributes to tribute summon it, and then it gains 1,000 attack for every card in your hand. And then if your opponent summons a monster in attack position, it loses 2,000 attack, and if its attack is reduced to 0, it's destroyed. However, since it does say reduced, that means if your opponent summons a monster in attack mode with 0 attack, it was not reduced to 0, so it does not get destroyed. So the only thing this won't destroy are monsters that have more than 2,000 attack or 0 attack if you control this one. However, that effect of Slifer does stack if you have multiples. So the more Slifers you have, the more difficult it's going to be for your opponent to summon monsters in attack mode. Also, Slifer cannot use that effect on monsters that are flipped face up. And then, during the end phase of Slifer was special summoned, it is sent to the graveyard. I honestly liked it better when the Egyptian God cards had the effect of, during the end phase, destroy this card, because then you can delay it with Mound of the Bound Creator. But since they got an effect change, which I thought was unnecessary, Konami decided to change that. Anyway, I also play 2 copies of Obelisk the Tormentor. Obelisk the Tormentor has the same summoning effect as Cypher, requires 3 tributes, summoning can't be negated, and it can't be normal set. And then Obelisk also has the effect of it can't be targeted by card effects. And then once per turn, you contribute 2 other monsters you control. Destroy all monsters your opponent controls. However, Obelisk cannot attack for that turn. And then lastly, I do play 1 copy of the Winged Dragon of Ra. The Winged Dragon of Ra cannot be special summoned. And then the same summoning effect as Obelisk and Slifer. And then it has the effect that when it's normal summoned, you can pay life points till we have 100 left. So that Ra will gain that much in attack and defense. However, the only effect you're going to be using of it in this deck is its effect that you can pay 1,000 life points, target 1 card your opponent controls, and destroy it. Or 1 card. You target 1 monster your opponent controls and destroy it. And you can do this as many times as you want, as long as you have 1,000 life points to pay. And that's it for the monsters. For the spells, I play 1 copy of Monster Reborn. This lets you target a monster in your grave or in either graveyard and special summon it. Then I play 1 copy of Fist of Fate, 1 copy of Blaze Cannon, and 1 copy of Thunder Force Attack. These cards can only be played while the respective Egyptian god monster is in play. This will make it so that you can target, or you negate the effects of 1 monster your opponent controls, and then destroy that monster. Which I like this card because it does not target, so it can get around things that have the effect of can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects. And then, if it was activated on, or during your main phase, you also Harpy's Feather Duster your opponent, which I absolutely love. And then Thunder Force Attack can only be played while Slifer's Sky Dragon's in play. But this will let you destroy all monsters your opponent controls. Or, I believe it's all face-up monsters or monsters in attack mode. Let's see. Okay, yeah. You destroy as many face-up monsters your opponent controls as possible. And if it was activated during your main phase, you can use that second effect where you can draw 1 card for every monster that was destroyed. And then Blaze Cannon can only be activated while the Winged Dragon of Ra is in play, and when it activated, it gives the Winged Dragon of Ra 3 additional effects, where the Winged Dragon of Ra is unaffected by other cards' effects. You make it so that if the Winged Dragon of Ra destroys a monster in battle, it destroys all your opponent's monsters. And then you contribute any number of other monsters that have not attacked that turn from your field to then increase Ra's attack by those monsters' combined attack. And then you can only use 1 of each per turn, so I'm only playing the ones. These are in here because I thought it'd be fun to play them. Anyway, next I play 2 copies of Preparation of Rites. Preparation of Rites lets you add a level 7 or lower ritual monster from your deck to your hand, and then you can add a ritual spell from your graveyard to your hand. Then I'm also playing 2 copies of Pre-Preparation of Rites. This lets you take a ritual spell from your deck to your hand, and then add a monster that ritual spell mentions. Which you will add one of the 3 copies of Rebirth of Nephthys. Rebirth of Nephthys lets you ritual summon any Nephthys ritual monster by attributing monsters equal to their levels from your hand and or field. And then if you ritual summon Cerulean Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys or Devotee of Nephthys, you can then destroy 1 other card on the field. Which I actually really love this card. And I just really wish the Nephthys deck was a lot better than it actually is. Then I also play 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. Pot of Prosperity lets you banish up to 6 cards from your extra deck face down, to then excavate an equal number of cards from your deck, add 1 of those cards to your hand, and put the rest at the bottom of the deck in any order. And then any damage your opponent takes is halved for the rest of the turn, and then you also cannot add cards from your deck to your hand. What is it? I want to say except by drawing them. Okay, no. You cannot draw cards for the rest of the turn, that's what it is. So you can still search, you just can't draw. You can make your one prosperity per turn. And then I also play 3 copies of Soul Crossing. I will always play Soul Crossing in any deck that's using any number of Egyptian God cards, as this lets you tribute 3 monsters from either side of the field to tribute summon a divine monster or a divine beast. And then if you tribute even one monster that's on your opponent's field, then you can only use 1 card or effect for the rest of the turn after its activation. However, usually I'm using this on my opponent's turn, as this is basically another copy of Sphere Mode, but just lets you tribute any of your 8 divine beasts, as there are 2 Obelisk, 2 Slifer, 1 Raw, and 3 copies of Sphere Mode. Then for the traps, I play 1 copy of Ultimate Divine Beast. This card has the effect if your opponent declares an attack, you can discard a spell or trap and then target a divine beast in your graveyard, special summon it in defense mode, and then the attack is redeclared on that monster. So usually what I'll do with this is when my opponent decides to attack then I'll use it to summon back Obelisk, so they're attacking a 4,000 defense body. And then, however, it will be sent to the grave at the end of the turn. And then its other effect is during the end phase, if you control a Divine Beast monster, you can destroy all face-up cards your opponent controls that activated their effects this turn. And you can only use each effect of Ultimate Divine Beast once per turn. And then lastly, I am playing 2 copies of the Revived Sky God. The Revived Sky God has the effect of you can target a Slifer of Sky Dragons in your graveyard, special summon it, and then both players draw till they have 6 cards in hand. And then this card's activation and effects cannot be negated. And then its last effect is you can banish it to take a monster reborn that is in your deck or graveyard and place it on top of your deck. And that is it for the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck, which has a lot of duplicates, just because of the fact that it is mostly the same monsters for prosperity. Anyway, I play 1 copy of IP Masquerena. This is just so that you can link summon on your opponent's turn for Nightmare Unicorn or Underworld Goddess. Barricade Board Blocker is just in here because I honestly couldn't think of anything to add, so I figured put this in here as a placeholder. It's supposed to be Nightmare Cerberus, but for now it's at least decent because you can banish it off of Pot of Prosperity. Then I play 3 copies of Nephthys the Sacred Preserver. This is the main link monster you'll be making in the deck, as it has 2 effects, where you can only use each one once per turn. Or if it's link summoned, you can... one's link summoned. Once per turn during your main phase, if this card was link summoned, so as long as it wasn't summoned from grave, you can activate its effect to add a level 8 winged beast from your deck to your hand, and then you can add a ritual spell from deck or grave to hand. And then its other effect is you can destroy a Nephthys card. This card points to, special summon a Nephthys monster with a different original name from your graveyard, but negates effects. Next, I play 3 copies of Nightmare Phoenix. This just lets you discard a card, target a spell trap your opponent controls, and destroy it when it's link summoned. Then I play 3 copies of Nightmare Unicorn. Nightmare Unicorn lets you do the same thing as Phoenix, except rather than destroy it, you shuffle it back into deck. Then I play the true boss monster of the deck, which is Nephthys the Sacred Flame. Nephthys the Sacred Flame has 3 effects depending on how many ritual monsters were used for its ritual summoning. And then it also has the effect of, while it's in the extra monster zone, this card points to, or your opponent cannot target Nephthys monsters in the main monster zone for attacks. And then gains the following effects depending on how many rituals were used. Or if you used 1 or more, it can't be destroyed in battle. 2 or more, it can't be destroyed by card effects and gains 1200. And then if you use 3, the neither player can target with card effects also gains another 1200. So if you use 3, it's 4800, cannot be targeted or destroyed, which I absolutely love. Then I play 1 copy of Access Code Talker. This just helps you blow through cards by banishing link monsters from grave. as different attributes, and then it targets a link monster as used for its link summoning and gains 1,000 attack times its link rating. One copy of Avramax, as Avramax is hard to get around as it cannot be targeted. If you use IP, it can't be destroyed, and then it's just really hard to get over. And then lastly, I play one copy of Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. This monster can be link summoned using one monster your opponent controls, so you can use IP with it to use one of your opponent's monsters as well as 3 of your own, as it requires 4+ effect monsters. But when it's link summoned, it negates all face-up cards your opponent controls, and then it's unaffected by card effects unless they specifically target her. And then once per turn, if your opponent would activate a card or effect that is special summoned from the graveyard, Underworld Gods can negate and destroy that card. Anyway, that is it for my Nephthys God deck profile. If you have any ideas what you can do to improve the deck, any ideas for decks like to see made in the future, or decks like to see face each other, I'm currently working on Egyptian Gods versus the Wicked Gods. Feel free to comment down below any ideas, and thank you so much for watching.